In this video, I'm going to show you how you can modify pre-animated motion clips in Cartoon Animator without messing up the rest of the timeline, using a technique that I call bracketing. I've got these two characters set up here on the stage. These are from Clay Tricia's Groovy Guys content pack. And the background is one that I've generated myself using PicLumen AI to sort of match the style of these characters. I'll show you the animation that I've made and I'll talk you through what the setup is. So this is just quickly playing it through. I'll take loop off so it stops. Here we go. There you go, it's just that short animation with both characters doing the exact same movements. I just wanted to make a project that was kind of more real world setup so it would feel a bit more like we're working on a scene from an animation. But I will turn that voice off because I know it's going to be annoying. But I didn't want you to get hung up on what the characters were saying. So to just get started, I'm going to open up the timeline, and the animation I created, I used this character to create it. So if we go into the timeline, and we'll just look at FFD is not too important. It's got a little bit of FFD on the motions, but we're not going to be looking at that too much. It's basically the motion track we want to look at. So we'll go back to the start. You can see every single motion in here is a pre-existing motion or pre-animated motion. I haven't done sort of any changes to them. Turn that voice off. You see we've got idle breath, then idle stand. If we go further, we've got questioning linear, talk linear, and that's pretty much it. You can see a lot of keyframes here in the sprite track, and that's because none of these motions had any hand movement in them, and these characters have got sprite hands, so I just went through. You can see as the playhead goes through here, and if you watch his hands, you'll see that they change as we hit different spots. So just to make him look a bit more natural, and I think if we go down, I've also fixed up any layering issues. So for things like where he's crossing his arms here, I've fixed that up so that it doesn't look particularly bad. And there's one moment up here. You'll see where this guy is putting his hand to his chin. That motion is not in this character's motion because I'm going to show you how I did that or how we can fix that. That was a fix I did after the fact. You see here, he's got his hand to his chin and this character has got his arms and hands all over the place, not even on his chin or anything. So we'll go and I'll show you how to modify that. But otherwise, they're pretty much the same. If we go now into this character, I haven't done any facial animation either, other than the automatic lip sync that Cartoon Animator does. What I did to get this character moving was I saved out his entire performance as a motion performance clip. So what you can see here is one long clip that's called Wah Wah Talking Loop. That's the style of talking, and it's just one long clip. You'll see there's no breaks at all. So anything, and all of the keyframes that he had for hands and stuff, they're not in here. These keyframes are ones that I corrected because this character actually has slightly different sprite hands to what this one does, and this character actually has more hands than what this one does as well. So I did some adjustments, but you can see here there is some really bad breaking up of the character's hands and positioning, and there's all sorts of unusual things going on here if we go through. Now, I'm not going to fix up every single thing, but I'm going to fix up a few things just so you can see how they're done, mainly focusing on modifying the actual movement so that you can see how to do those modifications without messing up the rest of the timeline when you're doing them. And as I said before, we'll be particularly looking at that point where this character has got his hand on his chin and this character is, who knows what that is that's happening there. So let's get started. We'll go back to the beginning, stop this, and we'll just do a really small change to just to get ourselves started, just to introduce you to this concept that I'm going to be repeating, as that it's the most important concept that you need to learn, and that is the concept of bracketing before you actually make any changes, and I'll tell you what that is. So we'll go through this character and get to a point where something is really starting to look wrong. So you can see here his hand is breaking away, and over here the hand's breaking away. If we keep going, we've got this hand that's totally not right at all. This arm, it looks a bit weird, but it's not too bad. We could fix it as well. And then kind of round about that point, it's not looking too bad. We could sort of use that as a point where we want to continue with things being identical. So before we try to fix any hands or positioning at all, we want to do what's called a bracket, or set a bracket. So we go to the point in the animation where things start to break, and then go on the point just before that. We open up the 2D motion key editor, and we make sure set key options is set to full body, and then we do set key. And what that does is sets a keyframe for every single bone in the character, so that anything we change after this point won't affect anything before this point. So everything from here back to the start is going to stay exactly as we want it to be. That's our first bracket, and you can call that the opening bracket if you like. Now we want to do a closing bracket. We want to find a point where we get back to where our character is back in position how we want them to be. So if we're looking at this, we decided maybe we even go before that. The hand crossing is looking good, and maybe we go around about that point, sort of there. We want to set another key. This is going to be our close bracket, and what this effectively does is make sure that any editing we do in between these two brackets from this point onwards has no effect on the rest of the animation. So I'll just demonstrate. If I go to this point just before my close bracket and open up my motion key editor, and I do something really radical like change this arm, put it up like that, you'll see that before there, now my arm is up from the beginning of the animation, and only goes down because I've made this keyframe, whole body keyframe down here, and that's not what you want. So if I undo that, now if I go in between my brackets here, so just after my opening bracket, and do the same thing, put that arm up, you'll see that once I go past where my opening bracket is, back to the beginning, everything is back as it should be. We come back in here, all sorts of things are happening, being affected by that one change, and then we get to our close bracket here, and you'll see everything after that is back to normal. So this is how you edit existing motion clips so that you don't affect the rest of what's happening in the timeline. You set an opening bracket and a closing bracket. So I'm going to undo that change, and I'm going to try and adjust my hands to get them back to how I want them. And what we're going to do is try and focus on key moments. We're not going to go frame by frame. We're going to go, so that's the next position he's going to be in, and obviously that doesn't look particularly good. We've got to fix this hand up. We'll select the hand there and see if we can just turn it up like that. And at this point, I should note that in the 2D motion key editor, you can either have this set to full body or selected part. I tend to set it to full body, but it can sometimes make too many keyframes, and if you've got lots of other sections you want to fix, you maybe want to try doing selected parts so it doesn't fill the whole character, like every single bone, with a keyframe every time you move something. Selected part just puts a keyframe in the bone that you're actually moving. But for the most part, I usually have it on full body. You can see now at this point that hand is looking pretty good. It's staying attached to the wrist, and that's good to go. Now if I'm going to adjust anything else as well, I try and do that adjustment on the same key point that I've just done. And this one here, I think his arm's just a little bit too far over, so we might just move that over just a bit there. Oh, we've got that hand on that side as well. It's looking a bit problematic. We might adjust that at the peak of where it's being a problem. We just turn that hand a bit so it looks more like it's still joined. Clearly there's a bone problem here. That bone isn't sitting in the middle of that wrist. That's looking better. And I'm not going to try and get it perfect because this is going to be moving so quick. You probably wouldn't really notice that problem there. That's looking better. See the hands staying attached now. You can see as he's moving, this one is looking a lot more unattached. Might go to the peak of where that looks unattached, about there. We'll turn it back around so it doesn't look quite so bad. And we might turn it a little bit inside there, a little bit too much off. And there we go, that takes us outside of that bracket, and we fixed those issues and we haven't messed up the beginning of the timeline or anything after that. You can see maybe there's a point there where his arm is coming away from here, so we maybe want to bring it down. There we go, so we've done that one. Now we're going to move to the next thing that we're going to fix. So that's pretty good there. You can see this arm is a bit dodgy with how far that's turned off. But I'm not going to worry about it because it's a very quick movement, and from there you don't notice it. You can see it there, and then within about 2 to 3 frames it's pretty much fine again, so we won't worry about that. Just turn the bones off so we can see what is happening. See, we've got a floating hand there. This is the whole hand under the chin thing. We've got layer problems, got hand problems. So what I'm going to do is move this over to here. First thing we're going to do is sort out the layer problem. You can see this elbow is going behind that arm. So we'll open up the layer menu, and I think that's the right hand. Yep, by moving it to the top. There we go. That's that. Any other layer issues there? Just once that arm comes apart, I'm going to release the layer. I'm going to release this so that it doesn't affect anything further down the timeline. That the point there is where we've changed the layer order, and that's where we've stopped it, so that we don't continuously have that hand in front if we didn't want it to be. Now we're going to get into adjusting all of the movements, and we're going to do our bracketing. So we'll make sure this character's selected, open up the editor, and we've got to work out where that movement starts from. And again, I'm going to turn the bones off. I'm going to turn them off so I can see it. We're right there, everything's okay. We're looking to put in our first open bracket, maybe there or there. Everything's still fine, so we're going to set our open bracket key there. Now we're going to scrub up the timeline till after he's completed the motion that we're going to be fixing. So based on this guy, you can see he's still scratching his chin, and I'm going to say around about there is close enough when he's fixed. There is a bit of problem with this hand here, but I don't want to get too far away. We want to stick fairly close to the motion that we're trying to fix. So I think about that point, a good place to set our close bracket. So we'll go set key, put in our close bracket there. Now we want to select this guy, go back in to the motion key editor and start addressing the various problems. The first one being that we want his head beyond his hand to be scratching his chin. So we might maybe get his hands more under control before we worry about his head, because with them being so broken up. We want to get to the key point for those, perhaps around about there. And I'm going to turn the bones off because it's very hard to see. And we're going to select the bones from here. So first up, we're going to try turning that hand around a little bit, and we're going to get this hand, turn that around, and we're going to want this hand to sit up a little bit higher. Let's see if we can bring that up a little. That's no good. Bring it up that way by stretching that bone. We'll see how that's looking. See from there it's sort of breaking a little bit. Too much, so we just move that over a bit. And there is a slight break there that we could fix on this wrist. And we can see that his elbow's moving over and his other hand isn't really moving with it. At the point where it's at its furthest there, we're going to move this one back. Move this forward. Might even have to flip that hand. That movement was right on the bracket, and just down a bit. You can see there, we've kind of fixed all the hands up. I could try changing that actual hand if he's got a better hand. He doesn't have that many sprites for his hands, so I'll just have a look. See here, he's only got these 5 hands to choose from. So if we go on his sprite track, which is this one here, see that's where his hand could do with being flipped at some point. And probably that one, I would say. I might go with that. And now we want to make his head sort of sit on his hands so that he's kind of scratching his chin. Go back into the motion key editor and try putting his head down. You can see his head bouncing up. The reason it bounces up is because we've done the full body keyframe at every single keyframe we did for his hands. So if we wanted to stop that, we just go to each keyframe on here. And we could get this keyframe and go copy over to here. And on this keyframe, on the next one, we just go paste. And you'll see his head will go down. Next keyframe, we still want it on his fist, so we can paste that on top of here. And just keeping in mind, this is the head transform track that we're doing this on. So this is the track that transforms the bone. We still want it resting there, so we can paste it down there. And then from there, he's starting to move his hands away. So there you go, we've done all those modifications and we haven't messed up anything before this and we haven't messed up anything after this because we did our bracketing before we started editing anything. So we'll just have a quick look through, see if there's anything else that really stands out. Still things like this where he's got his fist and his hands aren't really where they should be. We might do a bracket there, set key, and then move to the next point where everything looks okay. Be there, set key, and now we want to just do spots here and we could fix these hands up. We've selected, fix up this one, just roll his hand around, and this one, roll his hand that way. Doesn't look quite so bad. See what that looks like. This one's not great over here, so we might roll that way there. Roll that back around. You roll this one down. And there we go, that's getting to the end of my animation. Now that we've done all that, close that down, close this, and I'll turn the sound back on for one last time. Go to the start, and we'll see what that whole animation looks like now that we've corrected all of his movements. And I might just put the loop on so that we can sort of look at it. So there you go, that is how you modify pre-animated motion clip so that you don't mess up your animation earlier in the timeline or later in the timeline. The whole concept is to create these brackets at either side of the part of the motion clip that you want to correct or modify, so that anything you do in between those brackets is where all the changes stay and it doesn't transfer to earlier parts of the timeline and cause unexpected things to happen. So, did you find this tutorial useful? If you did, I have another completely free mini course that can get you started in rigging G3 PSD characters. It's less than 2 hours of online video, and the course shows you how to rig and animate a simple character very quickly in Cartoon Animator. And it teaches you how to animate that character. You'll find it at makeanimatedcartoons.com/free course. I hope you found my bracketing technique useful and that it will be a handy technique that you'll use in your own animations, and you'll be able to edit any kind of existing pre-animated motion clip and know that you're not going to mess up the rest of your animation. So that's it for this video. Until the next one, we'll see you later. Bye for now.